Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you're doing well. I'm here today with another bookshelf tour, but first, I'd like to give you a little bit of a reading update. There will be chapters on this, so you can skip around as you will, or sail on out of here. That might be for the best, actually. But yeah, I leave this freedom in your hands always, so see the chapters, certainly. But anyway, what have I been reading? I have finally finished up Battle Cry of Freedom by James McPherson. And I'm not going to give you a detailed rundown on it. That would take forever, and you'd probably be incredibly bored. I'll just say that it is an excellent one volume, very comprehensive survey of the war, very lay accessible. I will gladly recommend it to any lay reader who's looking for a one volume introduction. I know of none better at this point. I'll give you a few of my negatives. And all of these really probably stem just from the fact that he was limited to one volume, so that's just kind of the nature of the beast. But I personally like the military history aspect to be a little bit more detailed. Sometimes I felt like I was just getting the Cliff's Notes version of some of the battles. Some of them he gave in a fair amount of detail, but others he kind of skimmed over, especially the Trans-Mississippi, I felt like got the short shift. And yeah, I don't think he even mentioned some of the stuff that happened in Florida. But as I said, understandable. He had only one volume to work with. And I completely praise him for including all the antebellum material. That was probably my favorite part of the book, actually. And during the narrative of the war itself, he often would pause in the military history to present information about the politics of the war or the economics or a little bit about the medicine of the time, such as it was, the diplomacy that went on, both North and South, just all sorts of things that really add to the complete understanding of the period. And he often would insert those in a place that kind of made sense, that would add to the reader's understanding of the complete story here. But there were other times I might have chosen to structure it a little bit differently, insert that information in a different place, because I thought he sacrificed some clarity on some of the chronology with some of his choices, but again, fairly minor in the grand scheme of things. If I wasn't already fairly familiar with the military history, I'm not sure that I would have even known some of the chronology was a little off. So there you go. Make of that as what you will. And finally, the book kind of ends with a thud. We get Lee surrendering the Army of Northern Virginia at Appomattox Courthouse, and then we kind of get very quick allusions to important events that happened afterwards. And I mean very quick allusions. I mean, there's very little of the book left. And with him including so much great antebellum information, I had hoped that he might devote a little bit of space to the immediate aftermath, but he really didn't. It just kind of ends. I mean, true, this is a volume in the Oxford History of the U.S., and that might have been something of an editorial decision. I don't know. But it just left me wanting a little bit more at that point. But like I said, 99% of the book I was very pleased with, and as I said, I will very gladly recommend it as a one-volume comprehensive survey. So enough of that. What else have I read? I've read one of the sagas for the Sagalong event in April. I've read, there's no way I will pronounce this correctly, the Saga of Hronkel Phrase Gothi, maybe? I don't know how all those little curly letters and crossed letters and diphthongs are pronounced, but anyway, I probably shouldn't try to comment on this until I've had a chance to look up some of the cultural background, read a little bit of commentary on this saga, because one of the fun things about jumping into these Norse sagas is you're really stepping into something of an alien world. Things were done differently, I'll put it that way. I'll give you the quick plot synopsis. Our hero, I guess he is, I'm not going to try to pronounce that name again, the titular hero, is very devoted to the god Frey, and he's a very powerful man in the community. I won't get into all the terminology involved in the community structure, the power structure there. But he's also very rough on a lot of people. I guess you might call him a bit of a bully. And he has a neighbor who doesn't have enough money, has too many kids. So he sends his oldest son over to our hero to hire on, which he says, I'm willing to take you on, but I don't think you'll want the job I have for you. He says, well, I got to take what you have. He says, well, I'm going to have you herd my sheep and gather wood all summer in return for keep. But there's one stipulation. You're also going to be looking after my herd of horses, but there is a particular stallion that is very dear to me. It has been half devoted, I don't know how that works exactly, to the god Frey, so you are not to touch him or ride him, or I will murder you. And yes, that's how he puts it. Or he might have just said kill, but anyway, this kid says, well, that doesn't sound like such a bad thing. I mean, I can use any of the horses. There's no reason I can fathom that I would need to use that particular one. So, yeah, you can guess where this goes. So, when the kid inevitably uses the horse to look for some lost sheep and brings it back all sweaty and distressed, our hero goes out and, true to his word, axe murders the kid. Because I guess in the ethical system he abides by, it's more important to keep his word than it is to not murder a kid for riding a horse. So, yeah. So the kid's father, the neighbor, understandably isn't too pleased with this development and goes over and demands restitution from our hero. And he says, now, you know, I don't normally give restitution to anybody for murder, but this is probably the worst thing I've ever done. So in your case, I'll give you all this swag. And father turns it all down and instead gets his nephew? I'm sorry, I'm a little fuzzy on the details. I'll have to reread it. But it's a relative. He gets his relative who is clever with the law, whatever the law is there. I kind of wonder. And they eventually work out a plan to summon our hero to the All Thing. That's a gathering. And with the help of some important chieftains from further west in Iceland, they're actually able to bring a case against our hero and get him sentenced to outlawry. And what's more, with the support they have, they are able to go and enforce said sentence. So our clever lawyer ends up taking over our hero's farmstead, and our hero is sent further east in disgrace, actually starts his own new farmstead, becomes very successful again, until one day our lawyer has a brother returning from Constantinople, I believe, and our hero goes out there and murders the homecoming brother in vengeance, even though the brother had nothing to do with any of this, and gathers some men and goes and throws the lawyer out of his old homestead, and the end. Happy ending. But very saga-like. So, like I said, it's a little bit of an alien world. It's a lot of fun. I need to read some commentary on it. But yeah, that was the first saga for Sagalong. I actually enjoyed it a lot. And with that, I'm going to shut my mouth and show you some books. So I'll see you on the other side of this awkward edit. Okay, here we go. This is a pretty small shelf. Guess you could call this classics, but you'll see it's just kind of a jumbled mess, a little bit eclectic. We got Saxo Grammaticus, Dictionary of Northern Mythology, Norse Mythology, Gods, Heroes, and Rituals and Beliefs. Why is your axe bloody? I think that's about Njal's saga. It's just some commentary. Skringla, that's History of the Kings of Norway. Kalevala, Nibelungenlied, Saga of the Volsungs, Poetic Edda, the Crawfords. Back to the site of my embarrassment this winter, the Peloponnesian War and Histories of Herodotus. Works and Days and Theogony, the little thin volume. The Epic of Gilgamesh. If you haven't read that, it's actually just classic tale of coming to terms with mythology or mortality, not mythology, but and growing the hell up, really. It's despite the intimidation factor of all the gaps in the text and everything, it's very relatable. Bhagavad Gita, the Odyssey, Metamorphosis, the Ovid there, Consolation of Philosophy. I guess I'm not deep enough because Lady Philosophy shows up and says, sure, Theodosius is about to sentence you to a horrific death, but philosophy, aren't you consoled? I'm like, no. The Arabian Nights, Piers Plowman, The camera on. This is some Tolkien criticism. Broken Scythe. It's about just his thoughts on mortality, basically. Romanticist and poet. Pagan saints and Middle Earth. That's just despite Tolkien's Catholicism, he actually has characters who embody a lot of pagan virtues because that's a lot of the literature that inspired him. Tolkien, the study of his sources, interrupted music. If you're familiar with Tolkien's cosmogony, the Ainulindale, that title might make some sense. Then logos and language in Tolkien's world. Got Beowulf, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and the complete Old English poems. Down to shelf 2 here. That's Shakespeare. Dr. Faustus, Paradise Lost, more Milton. Got Faust, Sufferings of Young Werther, Don Quixote, and I know, Patrick, I'm giving it some serious thought. It might be on my list pretty soon here. Song of Roland, Renard the Fox, Chronicle of the Czechs, Medieval Rushes, Epics, Chronicles, and Tales. Abelard and Heloise, Letters, Mabinogion, there's some El Cid there. The Ton, that's Irish legends. Dream Visions. Canterbury Tales. I believe that only has 15 tales in it. I have other editions of the Canterbury Tales. Troilus and Chryside. Got some King Arthur going here. 17th century British poetry. Some stuff about fairy tales and Middle English romances. Hey, bottom shelf. Got this fancy set of Dante with text and commentary. I need to dig into that. I've read a couple of translations of Dante now, but I haven't dug into that commentary yet. There's this another Inferno. This is all poetry down here. Wordsworth, Keats, Coleridge, Byron, Blake, Emerson, Tennyson. And yet, Mike, there's Whitman. There's Wasteland. I have a complete Eliot somewhere too. And there's Yeats. So yeah, that's it for this shelf. If you're interested in knowing more about any of these, just shoot me an email. It's in the information box down there. I can give you more information on any of these books. So I'm going to cut this one short here. It's spring. I'm a little bit more busy. I might not be uploading quite as much. Not that I upload all that frequently anyway, but doesn't mean that I've locked myself in one of those cages out in front of the humane shelter or stolen all the shopping carts from Walmart and headed for Utah or any of those things I always swear I'm going to do. So yeah, thanks for joining me as usual. Hope I'll see you again soon. Take care of yourselves. Later days.
But am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?